Hey everybody, it is Julie and I am your Monday vlogger, and today for Back to Basics Weight Loss Surgery channel, today I'm on my second video talking about habits and how habits affect us in our personal lives, but more importantly how they affect our weight loss surgery journey. I got kind of interested in habits initially. I'd say about 6 months ago, we started reading a book. Several of us in the Back to Basics group started reading a book about emotional eating. And the book was fine and good, and kind of set for me, it didn't do anything new for me, put it that way. It was a good book, but not a lot of new information for me. However, I continue to explore why I eat the way I do, not just because I know why I'm doing it. I know it's because of stress. I know it's because, I have drama with my eldest son who's 21, or my daughter who's 16, or I have drama at work. I know why I eat. I want to know why I do it without thinking about it. I want to know why I'm doing it, and then I realize, oh my God, I've done it. And so I'm going to put a couple clips in from Charles Duhigg, who wrote The Power of Habit. And this is the book that I've been talking about. Charles Duhigg is his name, and The Power of Habit. And I'm going to put a couple clips in of him talking about habit. So hang on.
So I first got interested in habits about a decade ago when I was a reporter in Iraq. And I heard about this army major down in a city named Kufa, which is about an hour south of Baghdad. And I flew down to meet him, and he had stopped riots from happening by taking kebab sellers out of the plazas. And I thought this was totally fascinating. And what would happen is that people would get hungry, these crowds would develop, and there were no kebab sellers there, so they'd all go home and the riot would never happen. And I asked him how he knew this, because the riots had been a problem in Kufa for a year. And he said that the military is like this giant habit formation experiment, that everyone learns how to work in the military by learning how to manipulate their own habits and other people's habits. And that got me super interested. And so when I came back to the US, I wanted to learn about habit formation, and I wanted to learn how to change my habits. Like, I wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to be able to exercise easier. And there were all these things in my life that I felt like I was a successful person and I was powerless over changing these patterns. And so the more I researched it, the more people told me this is really a neurology issue. There was a woman named Wendy Wood who did a study when she was at Duke, and she followed around college students to try and figure out how much of their day was decision making versus how much was habit. And what she found was that about 45% of all the behaviors that someone did in a day was habit. And this gets to sort of the way that habits work, which is that there's this thing called the habit loop. There's three parts to it. There's first a cue, which is a trigger for a behavior, and then the behavior itself, which we usually refer to as a routine, or scientists refer to as a routine. And then there's the reward, and the reward is actually why the habit happens in the first place. It's how your brain sort of decides, should I remember this pattern for the future or not? And the cue and the reward become neurologically intertwined until a sense of craving emerges that drives your behavior. And this actually explains so much of our lives, and not only like our lives, but also how companies function. If you take this framework and sort of apply it and look at the behaviors that you do, for instance, backing your car out of a driveway, or why you suddenly feel hungry when you see a donut box on the counter at work, but you weren't hungry 5 minutes earlier, or why companies function in certain ways, why these dysfunctions emerge within a corporation, you can find these cues and rewards that kind of explain the behaviors. So it's enormously important.
Have you ever given any thought to how you go about starting your car every morning? I bet you really don't. If you think about it, every single morning, we start our cars. and then we drive. Nothing more to it. We don't think about it. We get in our car, put the key in, start it, back up, drive, right? But we actually know that there are a lot of steps underneath that, right? So for instance, 1, we have to get in the car. 2, we have to adjust our seat, maybe adjust our mirror. Insert the key, pump the gas perhaps, put our foot on the brake, shift the gear into reverse, shift the gear into reverse, look backwards, press the gas pedal, etc. More than 9 steps went in to getting into our car. Okay, well, so what, Julie? What does that mean? Okay, what is that? Do I even care? I don't know. But you know what? This is the way I kind of look at it. Our eating is much like driving, you know? We don't think sometimes when we're under stress. We just do. Our brains are so wired to get our reward, which is start the car, we drive, we get to our destination. Okay, so instead of actually thinking about the myriad of ways in which we can start our car every single morning, we actually don't think about driving much at all. I mean, how many times have you driven someplace and not really remembered how you got there? Right? That's our minds working in what we call a habit. Habits are those easy things that we get into. It's this loop, this easy loop that we get into. We have our cue, get into the car, we drive, and our reward is getting to our destination. We don't think about the 9 steps that it took to even start the car, much less how we drove to our destination, because that's too much for our minds to think about, because we've gotten into a habit. Our minds make it much easier for us to concentrate on those things that we think are important. So we decide to stop thinking about what we've habitually done. It's really quite interesting. Okay, so where does that leave us? So we've got a habit that we don't think about, that we're not even, that when we get under stress, we immediately go to something that our minds don't even process anymore. And before we know it, we've got a candy bar in our mouth, or whatever it is for you. For me, candy bar, brownie, cookie, that kind of thing. The key is what is starting off? Remember, we started talking about driving, and he started talking about the men in the plaza. You have to break that habit down. You have to say, okay, what is starting my habit? what is cueing me up? What's the cue that starts my habit? For me, it's stress. Okay, that's an easy, pretty simple. Stress is the thing that starts my overeating. But there are more steps. Remember we talked about the car? There are so many more steps to it. And the key to discovering how your habit breaks down, whether it's overeating or something like that, or eating to stress, eating to emotion, is to discover, to recognize I am under stress or I've got an emotional thing going on. Okay, what am I going to do to counteract the habit that I've already gotten myself into? Okay? And you have to already think about it this way. Oftentimes, if you're an organized person, not like me, but my youngest son, is very organized. And in order to make his day flow smoothly, he packs his lunch at night, he sets out all of his clothes, and he makes sure that everything is in order, right? So that by the time he's ready to get ready for school, all he has to do is put on his clothes, grab his lunch, grab his homework, and head out the door. He doesn't even have to think about it because he's already set himself up for success, right? There's no stress involved in getting ready for school for John, right? Unlike his mother, who runs around like a chicken without her head in the morning because I have not gotten myself into a habit laying out my clothes, getting my lunch ready the night before, getting everything I need to carry out to the car, ready and packed up. No. I've got a myriad of things that I'm running around trying to get, and I don't even stop to do it beforehand, which would make my life a lot easier in the morning and I would be less stressed out. Same thing goes for overeating or emotional times. We don't know when stress is going to hit us. We don't know. But we can prepare for it in advance. So here's the idea. For me, I started shoving Quest bars in my purse, thanks to Maggie Price. Thanks, Maggie. She mentioned it in the last Back to Basics Transformation Academy that that's what she does. And I thought, hey, I'm going to do that too. So I started two Quest bars a day. I shove them in my purse. I also shove my purse with my big water bottle. I've got a big purse. I shove my water bottle in my purse. I shove Crystal Light in my purse. I put a lot of things in my purse that I can go to immediately if I feel the need to put something in my mouth, because I'd much rather put a Quest bar or drink Crystal Light iced tea than put a brownie in my mouth. I'm already setting myself up for success. And we need to get ourselves into breaking the habit of reacting to emotion or reacting to stress with our old emotion, starting the ignition of the car without thinking. And start setting out our clothes the night before. Start laying out our books. Start packing our lunch. Doing all that stuff, preparing ourselves, because we know stress will happen at unexpected times. That's that for this week. I'm going to talk more about habits next week. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.